Let's go slay some zombies. I mean, infected. I mean, ridden. I mean, walkers. I mean, ridden. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and welcome to the Friend Zone, a monthly video game show where I discuss the latest games with my friends. Today, we will be talking about the month of October game that we played, Left 4 Dead 3. Back 4 Blood. We'll be talking about our history with Left 4 Dead and what this kind of represents for the Left 4 Dead franchise. As always, we'll be talking about what we were expecting and how we would describe it. We'll talk a little bit about the tutorial. I think that's usually something that takes up some portion of the game, but we'll talk a little bit about that. The gameplay or gunplay, as in, this is a first-person shooter, so we got to run around and shoot stuff. We'll talk about the missions, the characters, the narrative. We'll talk about the different modes in the game, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with our final thoughts. But without any further ado, let's go to the friends of the Friend Zone. Please welcome Eric.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh no, I've been grabbed!
Oh no, he's grabbed. Get him. Use your stun gun. Well, let's go to Kevin.
Hey everybody. I'm just running after Eric, trying to ungrab him, which I
He's
guess he's doing.
It's got a stalker.
Yeah.
We got Patrick.
What up, viewers? Oh wait, that's your line.
Oh, dang it. And it's not like trademarked or anything, but
Aren't you going to hit him with a copyright strike?
yeah. Yeah. And then we got Steven.
Hey, everybody.
What up? Well, cool. As I said kind of in the intro, this is basically Left 4 Dead 3, so we can talk about the history of our history with the Left 4 Dead franchise, or if anybody played Evolve, Turtle Rock's previous game, we can talk a little bit about that. So what is everybody's history with like the Left 4 Dead series?
So I played the first Left 4 Dead as soon as it came out. I remember I played with Kev in college quite a bit. I remember. I think we were on the 360 when we played it.
Yeah, I was pretty much all 360 in college.
Yeah,
a little
and
bit
then
of PC.
Played that a lot. And then when Left 4 Dead 2 came out, I played on PC and just put so much time into it. So, but I never played Evolve, but I played a lot of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah, as Patrick said, partially because I was playing it with him, but I played a decent amount of the two Left 4 Dead games. I haven't played Evolve myself, but I have watched it played because our old roommate Rob played it for a while.
Yeah.
Before it crashed and burned.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a little bit of like the hesitancy from Evolve kind of went into this game. I don't know if no one has any familiarity with it. Like, I think that was kind of a potentially a blight on Turtle Rock's.
Maybe in the greater community, yeah, I could see that. I didn't really come into that feeling that much myself.
No, and I guess those who knew Turtle Rock or the Left 4 Dead series, I would assume you went into it with just kind of expecting that. For anybody who potentially is new to this kind of cooperative shooter, what were you kind of expecting going in?
I never played Left 4 Dead, but I was kind of like aware of it with like the cooperative and like the fighting the zombies. So I think I kind of knew what to expect with it.
Yeah.
Just from like being aware of it, but yeah, I never played Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
I'd played Left 4 Dead on I think also the Xbox 360. I don't remember where I played it, mostly alone. Because I didn't play it online or anything.
Yeah.
And so I played it mostly by myself. And I don't even know if I finished the main campaign, but I think I had played, at least the first one, sort of by myself. So I was familiar with the franchise.
Sure.
And we had played, I think it should be said, we played both of the betas.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah,
I guess
we played both
on
betas
PC
for that.
and first on PC and then on PlayStation.
Yep.
Yeah, so we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. Yeah, and that kind of goes into like, so the first half of the beta was basically the tutorial, right? So we just kind of start basically where we were with that kind of tutorial. What did we think of the I guess the first 4 levels of Act 1 or the tutorial kind of run?
I think the gameplay is good. The environments aren't bad. It was a bit of a bummer having played the beta. It's like, it probably played through those 4 missions like,
Yeah.
4 or 5 times already. So it was kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, I got to trudge through these one more time before I can get to the game, the rest of the game. But
Yeah.
other than that, like, um, I also had, I don't know if, I think I accidentally played through on the tutorial on solo the first time.
Ah.
Oh.
Because I went through on bots because I was kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna blitz through this and unlock the new stuff. Um, but then I found out that you can't unlock anything as a solo. You don't get supply
Oh.
points. You don't get achievements. You I didn't even unlock the all the characters when I finished. So I had to
Oh
do it
no.
again.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating.
Yeah, that's, I mean, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it at the when we talk about the different modes, but it's basically like the why would I even do this mode? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I have a little bit more to say about that, but we can save that for later.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think we went in kind of, like we said, we played the beta, um, so we kind of knew what we were going in for. What do we think about kind of the gunplay? Maybe how it reflects back on Left 4 Dead or kind of the new stuff. What do we think about the gameplay?
I didn't care much for the gunplay, if I'm being honest. I felt
Sure.
like a lot of the time, um, the auto aim felt really swingy. So like I would be aiming at something, and then all of a sudden I would like either go in or out of my look down sights, and it would just
Oh.
like veer me like
Did you-
way off to something else that I was aiming at.
Did you try turning down the auto aim?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't mess with any of that. But yeah, I found that pretty frustrating. And just in a way in which like a lot of it always felt like I was kind of out of control of my guns in a way which
Yeah.
I didn't.
I agree, Steve. I totally felt that at first, and then I spent like a lot of time tweaking sensitivities and stuff, and I finally got it to where it felt pretty good. But I agree. The fact that I had to devote time to getting it to feel okay wasn't great.
Yeah, I just wasn't that into the gameplay. I always think I want to play the same for Left 4 Dead and for this. I think I want to play it, and then after maybe like 1 or 2 of the levels, I'm like, okay, what else? What else is there? What else is there to do? So I maybe never invested enough time to really want to like mess with the settings or anything. But I found that I felt out of control of my guns a lot.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, and I think that comes with, I think a lot of like PC first developers, like will they'll put stuff in to the game and it's like, oh, you can tweak that, but like it's way easier to tweak stuff on PC, and and like having to change it takes a lot of time, and yeah, I think that just comes with some of the territory. Not yeah, I think yeah, that's a knock in their book of just a lot of the PC first developers will make the UI, or they'll give you the UI changes, but it's just not easy to do on console, or maybe not even worth the time.
I think another thing that's worth mentioning, I guess, is like we had a wide variety. Like Casey, I think you played on Xbox.
Yeah.
Patrick played on PC, and then I think the rest of us were on PlayStation. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it
was
on
kind of
PS4.
we gave the crossplay a bit of a workout too. And honestly, that's one of the best things I have to say about this game is how seamless the crossplay is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it delivers on the kind of potential of drop in, drop out, first person shooter gameplay that we've kind of been craving in the industry for some time.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that really does like decent drop in, drop out gameplay that I can think of is like Destiny.
Yeah.
And I guess that also has a full crossplay now too, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
the audio was a little bit weird. The voice play, while it was easy to join the games with everybody, to get everybody like where they could hear each other properly, I noticed some differences.
Yeah, there's a little jank there.
a little bit,
Mhm.
but I thought it was pretty minor, all things considered.
Certainly required some adjustments.
Yeah.
But yeah, not like the thing that took too long to resolve, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because I was on PC, like none of the shooting felt perfect because
PC,
Because
sure.
that's what it was
PC.
designed
Yeah.
for first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and just like the I think they have like dedicated servers, so like yeah, some of the server interactions with crossplay or like so you'd be in the middle of a conversation, then you'd be changing levels, and that's like changing servers, and then you can't hear your friends for like 10 seconds as you transfer over. Yeah, a little bit of jank there, but I think at least it's allowing kind of seamless
I'll say,
gameplay
yeah,
across.
it was not flawless. It was not without jank. I think it was one of the best cross-play experiences I've had
Yeah.
in a game so far, especially given that we were so spread across different platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like I think one thing in the industry that's really good is like the game specific friends list versus like friends list from your console friends list or something like that. Like
Yeah.
and now that it just takes and it's not like a 18-digit friend code on like Monster Hunter or Nintendo. It's like
Yeah.
it's just basically
Yes.
your name plus 4 digits or something. So
Yeah,
Right.
especially compared to Monster Hunter, that's true. It's just seamless crossplay. That was like, all on the same console.
yeah.
They couldn't even get it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So yeah, again, a little bit of jank there, but I think crossplay was at least working
Yeah,
90%
outside of
efficiently.
maybe Call of Duty Warzone, it's the best crossplay
Sure.
I've encountered so far.
Mm.
Yeah, totally agree. So we talked a little bit about the gameplay. What do we think of I think the new thing that the new shiny thing that we're talking about is the like the card system and kind of getting builds together. I think that's like again a big portion of the gameplay. Everybody's striving for the more and more supply points. What do we think the new innovation of the card system's like?
Personally, I love it. I know it's pretty divisive with people that played like a lot of Left 4 Dead because it's I don't know, but I like games where it's like it wants you to fill a role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it makes it feel like different when you're doing those different roles.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Left 4 Dead 2, it's like everyone just needs to play the same version of playing well.
Yeah.
Whereas in
Yeah.
this game, like playing with you guys, I play Doc a lot, and I
Mm-hmm.
have been focusing on building like the best healing deck that I can,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been super interesting to me to like focus on a heal build in a game like this, where
Yeah.
like in Left 4 Dead 2, it's like yeah, you can heal yourself, you can heal other people, but it's there's not really, like, oh, I'm going to be focused on healing everyone. It's like, no, everyone just, take care of yourself. Only take care of other people if you need to. Play well. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the card system, while it might like mechanically have not be like a perfectly executed system, solved two of the things that always kind of were my least favorite aspects of Left 4 Dead, which were that there was no way to specialize into a role, which like Patrick, I like filling roles
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then also just there was no real progression system in the Left 4 Dead games, you know beyond a point. So this kind of gave you something to be working on and adding and feeling like you're progressing and getting more powerful, while also at the same time, letting you experiment with builds and fill roles, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it becomes like an interesting choice as you're kind of playing through the levels of like I feel like I didn't think it would be that hard to like select which card would come next. I like to just put them in priority and like just pick them, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time. But like there were times where I was like, oh, you know, we're really hurting. Maybe I need to go get the you know, it might be the eighth card in my deck, but I need the scavenge, you know, medical supplies card, you know, and bring it back up forward. So I didn't think it would be too much of a choice, but I think there was times where it wasn't just like pick them in exact 1, 2, 3, 4 order.
Oh yeah, I definitely
Mhm.
like it'd be like depending on the group I was with or like which map it was. I was like, oh, you know what? I know this is coming up, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more important that I have revive speed over this other one. You know, stuff like that. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
definitely making conscious choices outside of some of like the first initial your starter cards or whatever. Those ones I'm always like, yeah, these I have to have because it's sort of what makes my build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, beyond
Yeah.
that, I'm like choosing based on like how we're doing, what level we're on, stuff like that,
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of a pleasant surprise when I found out that the deck wasn't like randomized and that it would come out in the
Hmm.
order that that you put things into it, because it really did. Sometimes I'm agonizing about what order I'm putting these things in and stuff,
Yeah.
but it really let you sort of be like, all right, I need to put these at the top because these are the foundation. My build doesn't even happen unless I start to get these cards, and then you start to get sort of more situational stuff at the bottom. I thought that was kind of a cool rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the flexibility and like you could play through the same level as the same character with the same weapons, but just how you pick the cards, it can go very differently. And like once again, you can I do like the fact that it wasn't completely random and that you could prioritize those sort of main ones and be like, oh, maybe I want to do this or like maybe I want to optimize this route. And so like always like doing that tweaking and like swapping out cards. It's like, oh, is this one better? Or like, should I move that one up a little bit more? And I think
Yeah,
that it just gives you so much freedom.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think
I
there's a
also think. Oh,
go for
sorry.
it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
I also think that like we kind of talked about this earlier briefly, where we were talking about like ideal builds, especially when you get into the higher difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
because when you get to some of those like I don't know, better is the right word, but like more powerful cards,
Hmm.
there's a trade-off for almost all of them.
Some
You
of them are
know,
pretty harsh too.
Yeah.
No healing
yeah,
items for you.
Yeah.
yeah. So like the one I was really interested in is the one that makes Doc's revive speed or makes your revive speed 225%, which is really fast.
Yeah.
But then you can't use offensive items,
Yeah.
and like that's a huge trade-off. But maybe it's not a big deal if you're coordinated with a group with like a Hoffman who's got a bunch of offensive items who can be
Yeah.
ready to toss a pipe bomb or whatever when the swarms come, you know, and you don't have to worry about it as much because you know, you can be like, oh, toss one, you know, like you know someone has your back essentially, so you're less
Yeah,
worried about like what you can do solo, and that's what excites me about the card system overall. It's like it's often not just about like how good am I, you know, it's what are
yeah,
we capable of.
yeah. It's like you get later in the unlocks, and you really it's like you said, it kind of gets things where there's almost a sliding scale of how specialized you can make yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mhm.
there's kind of cycles of cards that give similar effects, but as the effect that you get stronger, they give you harsher drawbacks that could be made up for by like a teammate picking up the slack on that if they're specialized into that thing that you're sacrificing. So
Yeah.
that does create sort of a, if you're playing with randos, you probably want something that's a little less specialized and can look after itself a bit more. But I think it's really
Right.
interesting that you could, as a group, like sort of tailor your decks together to cover each other's weaknesses. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of reading like on what people think are good builds, and so many are like there's cards that people think are just like essential cards that you have to have in your deck, and I couldn't disagree more because like it's so oh shit. Sorry, I'm also playing a game and about to be attacked by bandits. I think it really depends on if you're playing with people you know or not, or with strangers. You know, so I don't know. it totally varies, which I think is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a good. I think I'd watch like one or two videos about like the essential cards, and like I think you're right. I think when you first start out, it's good to know that like you know finding more copper is a big deal. So put that in your like your initial deck, and like turning the bash into the knife or whatever. Like that seemed essential at first, but as soon as you develop like your gameplay style, like you can totally move away from that stuff. Like eventually you get to the two. I liked my like 2-gun build, and it's like I don't need to bash anything if I can just swap between SMG and LMG, uh, willy nilly. Like I don't need a bash at that point. So yeah, it's like I think there's good places to start, and then you just kind of build up from there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah, like, people are like, you
yeah.
have to have the melee knife
yeah,
build, and you have to have the card that gives you 2 health when you do a melee kill, and it's like,
Oh,
I mean,
Oh.
if
I'd hard
maybe
disagree
not.
with that.
Yeah, it's just like nothing feels essential to me. It's
Yeah.
entirely dependent on what you want to do.
Also, like, man, sometimes I don't want to give up my melee dash. Like the knife is great, but like the the default melee hits in a cone and stuns them, which can be really good for getting out of danger if you're swarmed in a way the knife isn't. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
kind of just goes
I
to
think
what
that's
you're
a
saying.
sign of a good system is that we can have these discussions about what is the best card. It's not like there's a couple cards that are those have to include. It really depends on your gameplay and how you want to sort of complement and supplement things.
Yeah, I think you know, I've also heard people like saying that like, oh, the cards aren't very powerful, but to me they give like like they definitely make a difference in your play style with but I think it was well executed. Like there's not a lot of overpowered like things that seem like grossly overpowered, at least as far as what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to jump in on that point a little bit because that was kind of my feeling is that the cards that you get at the beginning aren't strong enough to suggest a bunch of different plays. Like there isn't a lot of cards that you start with or get early on that really fundamentally change the way that like you play the game. Like you have to build
Yeah.
into these bigger ones, and I would have liked to see a little bit more of those trade-offs from and that diversification from the get-go. So because I felt like I didn't spend too much time doing the card system because I had a couple of decks that I was working with, but it sort of felt to me like I couldn't tell the difference between I had certain cards where like there weren't any cards where I got them early on, which was like, or maybe even that I got in total. I don't think I put as many hours into it as maybe some others, but I didn't get really any cards which was like, oh man, this suggests this suggests that this kind of deck, I want to build something around this. I felt that some of the early cards I would have liked to have seen more variety so that it gets those creative juices flowing so you can find ways to diversify instead of having to like go through the supply lines a whole bunch to
Yeah, I think that I totally get what you're saying, and I agree. I think it would have been nice if there had been like maybe 4 starter decks that
more
focused a
starter
little on
decks
that
would
kind
have
of
been
thing.
great.
Totally.
That said, I think that was a conscious design choice, and I get why they did it. Sort of like I was saying, if you kind of have to design to assuming that most people will be playing with randomly match-made people, and that sort of is the enemy of specialization in a game like this.
Yeah.
So I think it made sense to, and this is sort of the way the supply lines progress with the unlocking as well, is they start you with sort of generally like not, less powerful, but more generally useful things. And then as you progress more and more, you get the more and more specialized stuff the further you progress. Um, I think with the idea that when you're just starting out, it's going to be more benefit like people are going to get further and be less frustrated if they're just generally kind of useful. Um, but it does make it does mean that the deck building takes a while to get going, and I definitely felt that.
Yeah.
I think I just never got to the point where I really hadn't like I had a healing thing and I had like a melee thing kind of going, but there weren't any cards in it that really made me feel like it was like I've just crammed the incremental bonuses into this deck and the incremental bonuses into this deck. There wasn't like a something in there where it's like, okay, I'm gonna put this at the beginning because it turned, because I have no guns but I have 2 chainsaws.
Yeah.
Something something that sort of fundamentally like sparks some excitement for me. There, a lot of the cards are just kind of like, oh, okay, like these would be helpful.
I also think some of this is response. I think maybe somewhere hidden in there too is like the stinginess with the supply points. Is like, each you play through a level, you get 20 to 30 supply points, and like cards are averaging like 75 75 points a card. Like you have your 30 point cards and your 100 point cards, like you're averaging.
Yeah, but some are like 5 and 10. It really
But
just
those are all
depends.
cosmetics.
Yeah.
On the supply line.
Yeah, but you still have to like purchase them to get through the supply lines.
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally.
I have a very different opinion on all of this. Like I don't think they're stingy with the supply points, because I think you play an act and you end up with like 5 to 600. And I don't know, like I haven't played a ton, but I have played a bit, and like I've just jumped in with like quick play just to like earn some points. And I don't know, like I got to like this sort of specializing stuff. It felt like pretty quick, but I also knew exactly what I was going for, so I think that helped. I was like, oh, I like Doc. I'm gonna just try to go for unlocking as many heal cards as I can.
I wonder what if you played on a harder difficulty, because the difficulty that I was playing on, you'd finish an act and I'd walk away with like 150 supply points. And so
I mean, I was playing on Recruit. It just like you get more as you go on, like the further in the acts. I don't know. I remember specifically one session I finished with Kevin, I think, and it was like hundreds of points at one point.
Yeah, part of that too, Patrick, is like there's a lot of one-time achievements.
Oh, that could be it.
So like you like I think it's every time you get up to 2,500 kills with a weapon, you get a bonus 200. Every time you finish an act for the first time, you get 200 or 300 bonus.
Yeah,
so they do give you kind of a boost the first time you do stuff like that.
That might be part of it, because I also found myself, just because of jumping in and out with different groups, you'd end up doing the same level a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that's not they don't reward that as high.
Yeah, especially for that first playthrough, I think it's really beneficial to just run through all of the story missions and get like all the bonus points and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, I reached a point where like, because I was also doing like the jump in and quick play 1 or 2 matches, and I would do I would just randomize the character. I mean, I don't think there actually was a randomize button, which seems like something you might do zanily, but I guess they want you to make a deliberate choice. But like I'd pick whichever character, and I think I got like 2 or 3 characters up to like that first initial 25 playthroughs or whatever, and so like I think I got a big boost of supply points from there.
Yeah, that too. Like going, trying all the characters for a while.
Yeah,
it'll also net you a bunch of points pretty quickly. So yeah, I think all of that is too vague. So I agree with that. Like it doesn't really guide you or explain any of that very well. It's just sort of like use these points to buy stuff. And so I think some starter decks, just to give you like a guideline of like what's potentially out there, would be smarter.
Yeah.
I hate saying this, but almost like a booster pack, or like I should just get like a stack of randomized cards. So it's like there could be some gold in here, or there could be, or like I just get some more decent trash.
I don't know if you guys felt like this, and I know they're arranged a bit more linearly, but to me the supply lines kind of felt like booster packs that you unlock one at a time very slowly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got a new supply line. Let's see what's in it. Oh, that one at the end looks good. I'll get that in
slowly
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think we all had like a somewhat confusion of like how supply lines are doled out, which I think
there's some things this game just doesn't tell you. And
Yeah.
it's really silly that they don't tell you things like supply line, like what the supply lines do and how they're doled out. And
I
even
wish
just
they
a quick
had
blurb of like, this has more of this kind of stuff in it, and this has more of
Yeah.
this. Like you can kind of intuit it, but it would have been really cool to just like have a little more information there.
Yeah.
Well, Because you can
Oh, go ahead.
show all of the locked cards, and then sometimes I'd see a card that I'd really want. I'm like, oh, how do I get to that one? Like, I wish I could see, like, because they have like the cards have a different. It's like offense, defense, mobility,
Yeah.
utility, and it's like I wish they had put those on the different supply lines. It's like, okay, if I'm looking for a more offensive build, like just make it explicit that like
Yeah.
that's the top row is for that. Um, so it's just yeah, because it was like, well, how do I get? There's this card that I want, but how do I get it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Steven, did you have a final thought before we move on?
No, I was gonna ask about the story because I guess if we're gonna are we transitioning over to story now?
Yeah, I was going to talk about. I mean, I was going to at least talk about. I was going to start with mission variety. But if we want to talk about the narrative, we could definitely do that as well.
I'd also like to squeeze in talking about enemy design somewhere in here.
Oh, true. Yeah, we could. Yeah.
I definitely have thoughts about that. Well, my question was with the sort of the supply lines, and maybe somebody who's run the missions a little bit more and paid a little bit more attention can help me out here. Were those places that are on the supply lines? Were those places we went to in the games, like in the missions?
I think
mean,
so.
Yeah.
Some of them
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for sure if 100% if all of them are, but a lot of them are.
Okay.
Oh, and there's repeats, and that was another thing too. Where it's
Yeah,
like
they repeat over and over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just like each line flips through like
Right.
3 or 4 different ones, and then just yeah. So
Right. Okay, I just wasn't because I sort of felt like okay, these places we're gonna see like because they do have like little blurbs that are kind of like the lore about these places, like
yeah,
oh you got to be sure to be on your toes here in this market
Yeah.
area, and it's
Yeah.
like oh okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
they don't
And
really
then-
draw a lot of attention to it, but yeah, you could like it's less like characters will be like, here we are in the stilts, and more like you're wandering through a level and you're like, oh, I think this is the stilt.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were unlocked when you did the level. Like, oh, you do the stilts
Oh,
level, and then you unlock that
interesting
supply
idea.
line. But no,
No.
no,
Yeah.
that would make too
It's
much
literally
sense.
just a shop.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's got a little coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I did, I think I really liked about this, especially over like a potentially like a Left 4 Dead, was the mission variety. I don't think I ever felt that like one level was exactly the same as like another level, or another mission.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good variety-wise, personally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw a lot of people complaining that the map design wasn't very good, and I didn't feel that at all. I mean, there were a few that like felt kind of samey, but for the most part, I thought that there were a lot of really interesting set pieces and stuff for this game. So I was a little surprised to hear a lot of people complaining about the map design.
Felt like a lot of it was the same, but now that I'm thinking about it a little harder, I'm like, oh yeah, but then there was that level, and then I'm starting to wonder if a lot of it feels the same because I ended up doing the same mission a bunch of
Yeah.
times with different groups. So it's like,
Yeah.
God, we're all these fucking hotel bars, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, because you've done the bar like
Yeah,
3
'cause you've gone to
times.
the same hotel bar over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there was a few days where I did Act 3 like 4 or 5 times with different groups, and it was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
I'm so tired of, or not. It was the end of Act 2, like those last
oh yeah,
couple ones with like the boat and the bridge and all
Yeah.
that. And it
Yeah.
was
I
like
really liked that area the first time.
But yeah, like after
Yeah.
doing it a couple times, it was like I would rather go back or do something farther on.
yeah,
So
They didn't really talk about it. I thought the implications of that area were pretty cool because it's called the Clog, and it's literally just like all the detritus has clogged up the river, and so you're just running on like this freaking massive wreckage of like everything that fell into the river and drifted downstream. I thought that was a cool idea.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think I feel like some people, or at least the ones that were talking about, like, oh, the set piece, like the like, oh, they're just reusing maps, and it's like, sure, maybe from a design point they are using some of the maps, but it's like Fort Hope is the center, and like you leave from Fort Hope several times in the storyline, so it's like it always felt like a little bit more like living of like, okay, we just did something really cool, we come back, we do Fort Hope, and like now we're leaving out of the gates of Fort Hope again. It's like So Fort Hope is like this place, and we leave from it, and then we go different directions depending on where you are in the storyline. I like that, or like, oh, we're going back to the the gas station, or we're going back to the
I thought it was interesting returning to the town and going different directions.
Yeah, I thought it was fairly few and far between, and they diverge pretty quickly from mission to mission. So I didn't have nearly the issue that some people seem to have with that either.
Do we have a favorite? Oh, go for it.
I do think in general, overall, with this kind of game, it's very much like Left 4 Dead, though, where you gotta just enjoy playing the game. It's less about set piece and I don't know, story and any sort of like other motivator. It's just like, do you enjoy playing this kind of game? Then that's great. There's a lot of it.
You kind of have to like it enough to be okay replaying those missions.
Yeah, because it's not it's not the kind of game that's gonna be like, here's this cool story we're guiding you through, or here's these like amazing planned out moments. It's you just got to really enjoy the mechanics of this kind of game.
Yeah, and it's meant to be played over and over again. If there was a big set piece, or you had to watch like an in-engine cutscene every time you did that mission, that would wear thin much faster than just playing the mission over and over again.
Yeah. Although I think, like Eric, like I think I played the sewers either mostly unsuccessfully, and so it's like I really hated the sewers just because like it's pretty complicated and there's a little bit of a slog on some of which is intended, but like you play the sewers too many times and you're like, okay, I don't think I could play the sewers again, or I'm gonna wait until I've got a 4-stack and not a bunch of randos. Yeah,
and randos are tough.
Yeah.
I do think it's tough with the randos, mainly because of like the Game Pass thing, where it's just like so many people are just jumping on for free and have no idea what it is, which is fine. That's great.
Yeah.
But it does make it hard to team with them sometimes when you're trying to like, just earn points and
you're trying to
level
get
up,
Yeah.
And also, I think there's a lot of people playing. It's been long enough. There's a lot of people playing that just don't know Left 4 Dead and how it plays and what it is, who are jumping into Back 4 Blood. And like I've actually seen a lot of people that like they're comparing it to the World War Z game, and it's like, oh, because like we're old men now, and the kids played World War Z. They didn't play Left 4 Dead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. Yeah, I found with like my quick plays, like as soon as I like unlocked all of Act 2, I would just quick play Act 2 rather than like Act 1 and Act 2, because then I wouldn't get like jumped into someone's tutorial mission or as a rando.
I do like I like that you can modify that when you're like, quick play, but I only want to do this part.
Yeah, I only want to do Act 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think I definitely did Act 2 the most out of any of them.
Yeah.
And like Act 1, we had done like the first 4 levels a number of times in like the beta, and then but I think like the second part of Act 1 I only did like once or twice.
Yeah.
The second part of Act 1 is we haven't touched it wasn't in the betas.
Yeah.
It's only those first like 4 or 5 missions.
Yep.
Up to the bridge that were in the betas.
Yeah, so it was like I like we did Act 2 a number of times and Act 3 a couple times as well, but it was like, oh yeah, what, like if you ask me what those missions are, I don't remember.
I was just gonna say, what's everybody's like favorite or least favorite mission? I mean, it doesn't have to be, if you don't know which act it's in, that's fine. But I at least wanted to say that I really liked the trailer park mission, just because like it actually felt like you were actually scavenging. You're like moving from trailer to trailer, and you have a timer. So like there's a little bit of like how long can we keep scavenging for crap in a trailer while moving, while continuing to move. I really liked the kind of level design with that, of like move, scavenge, wait for horde, or try and run through it as quickly as possible. So yeah, and then like I said, trying and failing through the sewers a number of times. I was like, nope, I don't want to do that one again. Or when you get placed randomly with someone at like the end of Act 2 with the church, and you're like, they're just like running around like shooting all the snitches, and you're like, you are not playing this. Like, there's a little bit.
I really
of
liked. I really liked the end of Act 2 with the church. I think I played it with humans, and I really liked that like set piece of like running around and.
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was good.
It was in the beta, but the barn. The first time you have to shoot the.
Oh yeah.
All that really stands out in my brain.
Yeah. The first introduction to like nests, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It might be just because I liked the character dialogue, but I really liked the high school.
Oh.
I did too.
Yeah.
That was a cool map.
Yeah.
Especially some of Hoffman's line on that one.
God, just playing that one time I was playing through with Hoffman, some of the shit he says is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we wanted to, I was gonna say before we get to characters, do we want to talk about enemy design?
Yeah, so to me this was kind of the weakest part of the game. I don't know if you guys felt that at all.
I agree.
I think it's there's a lot of factors that went into it. I think it's a shame that they only really picked like 4 silhouettes, even though there's 3 things in each of those silhouettes that do different things.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of hard to identify. Like, I know that there are ways to do it, and you can tell which one is a tall boy and which one is a crusher, and which one is a bruiser.
Yeah.
But in the heat of things, they all just are tall boys to me. All the stingers, like some stingers grab you and like sort of do like the hunter thing from Left 4 Dead. Some spit at you and pin you with the web, and and it's just like it's hard to quickly identify them. And also, compared to Left 4 Dead's audio cues, the audio cues in this game are terrible.
Yeah.
They're like kind of there, but they didn't really tune the directionality in a way that I think would feel good with them. I don't know if you guys felt this, but I felt like when boomers show up in Left 4 Dead, I can hear them. I can kind of hear roughly what direction they're in, and I feel like if I get hit by a boomer, it's my fault. Like I fucked up, or I was very unlucky.
Yeah.
Sometimes an exploder just comes around the corner in this game, and there's nothing you can do. Like the game just doesn't play the audio cue, and then it's there in your face, and you can't melee it like you could a boomer. So it's just kind of that just happens to you. And for all the fun I had with this game, I did at a few points get pretty frustrated with some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree about not having a lot of silhouettes. I also felt like a lot of the enemy design was really because there was sort of like 3 variants of the same ones. Sometimes it's really difficult to tell the difference, not only like visually between the 3 of them, but even gameplay wise between like a tall boy and a bruiser and a crusher.
Yeah.
Like especially if like you don't let them get close to you, like oh yeah, you just like pop them from a bit away, and for like I know that there's a big thing both with Left 4 Dead, and of course it carries into this about like the director that is like making choices to make your game more interesting.
Yeah.
But it sort of felt like they designed this artist in the director, but he's got like 4 colors.
Yeah.
And they're all gray. And I would have liked a little bit more of I guess just a little more tools in there. Again, sort of like my thing with the car is just like a little bit like push it a little bit further to the outside so that director can really give you sort of a memorable experience. Like, oh, remember that time that we were on the ferry and it spawned like 3 of whatever, and I don't feel like there were any moments that I had which was like, oh wow, this was a really unique version of this.
Yeah, and I'm not not a game designer or anything. I'm an armchair game designer at best. But I just, um, for my personal tastes, I think I would have liked like 20 to 30% more normal ridden and fewer specials, especially special spawning in like mobs, like groups
Yeah.
of specials. Um, I'm not saying that it's wrong that it does it the way that it did, but just for my personal preferences, I think I would have found that more enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I do agree with all of this. And while I do appreciate that they try to make each of those like have differences to like, sort of change the threats a bit. Yeah, it doesn't quite work because of the silhouettes are the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they could have just
But
differed they could have even used the same models and given them different postures or, again, silhouettes. Just like let one crawl and one stands up straight, and that would have been enough.
sure. But I do kind of wonder a little. I mean, part of me is like, what would this different silhouettes change outside of just knowing what they are? Like, why do I need to know what the difference between a wretch and a reeker or whatever?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, they need to die as soon as possible. It's just
no, you're correct. I do think that there's not really that much added gameplay, and that makes the differences between them feel kind of arbitrary in a way that I wish wasn't the case, I guess.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I also like with the speaking of like the AI director, like you know, I think we all agree with like the worst card pulls are like fog plus freaking wretches or whatever, especially on the
And the birds.
and the birds, and you're like, okay, so the game is forcing me to shoot randomly into the fog with birds and wretches out there. It's like, okay, like
I mean,
sometimes
yeah,
it's random into something that's shitty, but yeah.
I don't have a problem with there being random conditions that sometimes are extra sucky when you get them together. I think
Yeah.
that could go into making a more novel experience on a map
Yeah.
that you've played 50 times already.
Sure.
Um, again, I almost wish those were pushed a little bit more because some of those things, like, yeah, I know bruisers are armored, but like that doesn't really change the way I play very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
What I would
And
have
it would
liked.
have been,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. Go right
I
ahead.
think what I would have liked, what would have solved a lot of this, is instead of like variations of the 4, or is it 3?
I guess
3?
it's 3, and then
Yeah.
the snitches are like their own thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay. And the what are the
The
hags?
Oh, and the hag is
I
Yeah,
wanna
like
hag
talk-
and
ogre.
bosses. Yeah.
I want to talk about the hag in a minute.
But I think what I would have preferred, instead of like the 3 with like 3 variations of each of them, like resulting into like sort of 9 variations, right? I would have preferred just like 5 or 6 distinct ones,
yes,
and that would have solved
very,
a lot of
very much.
this.
I absolutely agree.
And so
Yeah.
instead of a variation of each of these, it's just like, let's just give us 5 very distinct ones.
So that dovetails really nice into the point that I want to make, which is the best enemy in the game is the hag, because when the hag shows up,
Yes.
it's usually precipitated by fog. So there's like a kind of unique thing that's going on. It changes the way you play the level because you're all of a sudden like constantly always looking over your shoulder for the hag.
Yep.
And
Also accompanied by a really distinct music cue, so you like know when it's
Yes.
coming, and it
Yeah.
amps up the tension really hard right when the
And-
hag's about to come at you.
it shows up, it looks unique as fuck and is horrifying. It comes out and everyone has to drop whatever they're doing to fight it. It's not just like another lieutenant enemy. It's like a literal boss that shows up
Yeah.
sometimes and just like devours you. And I think it's the most well executed because it has unique identifiable silhouette. When it happens, it's not just a random enemy that spawns. Like, you remember the missions you had where the hag showed up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and and you can it changes the way that you have to approach the level and the problem solving in a way that I think that, like, if they had even just like, okay, give me more lieutenants, like, add a third distinction between these guys where you have like the the rank and file grunt ridden and then the lieutenant special ones, but then like give me like 3 or 4 hags that it can throw at you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like a pterodactyl one that like swoops by and like picks you up, and you know, like just give me 3 or 4 of those like more like super unique ones that it can throw at you to really make some memorable moments, as opposed to lots of sort of variations of a couple of frankly Left 4 Dead reuses.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, like one of the most memorable things that happened to me in the game was the first time we ran into a hag and it ate somebody, and then got away, and they were just gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there were just several beats of like, oh my god, he ate. I'm like, I'm inside it. Oh god, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. Oh no, it's running away. I'm just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, also the hag is more rare.
Yeah.
So, like, what
Yeah.
if you just never got another hag again?
Yeah.
And it's like, what is? Am I going crazy? Like, is this just a super? You know, you play that level a bunch of times and it doesn't show back up, and you're like, what the hell was this? You know, like that's a memorable run. That's a memorable thing. The first time this rarer thing shows up, as opposed to like, you know, pretty much once you've encountered all the enemies, you're like, oh, okay. And in a big firefight where you get into some of those big hordes, you can't even tell the difference between did I just kill a crusher or a tall boy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
I mean, yeah, I feel like you couldn't spread them out too much because just killing regular infected is not fun. Really, I don't know,
Not without a
that
little bit of
challenging. Yeah, you need some
not without
spice
a
in
bit of
there, but I do
variability in there.
agree for the most part.
Yeah, I think it was craziest when you had to you went in going knowing like, oh, our special objective for this one is like, well, we gotta fight off a boss, and like a third of the time that boss is gonna be a hag, and like you know when it's gonna happen because of all the cues we just talked about, and like it's like, oh shit, like, you know, killing a breaker is fine, like, you know, try and outrun it, it's gonna hit pretty hard, like the ogre, hide behind something, it's gonna throw stuff at you, but like the hag was like gets in your face, it selects someone to try and kill as fast as possible, and like most of the time you're not taking it down the first time you interact with it. So yeah, I think those
Yeah,
like
like
a few
killing
more
the
of those would
bosses.
be great.
yeah.
Yeah, a few more things in the same with the
In the
same
same
flavor,
vein.
and you know,
Yeah.
I sure hope that they're going to add more stuff like that
Yeah.
as they continue to add content to the game.
Yeah.
One last enemy design thing, I just have to say, snitches are a poor replacement for witches.
Agreed.
Yes.
Just like a pathetic approximation of what the Left 4 Dead witch did to the gameplay.
Yeah, it's like
Like
it's not as scary at all.
they're just
It,
annoying. It's
yeah,
like
Yeah.
they really are just annoying.
there's not
What
really
made the
like
witch so much better? As someone who
the
didn't play Left 4 Dead?
so it was very similar to the snitch in that like you if you startled it, it would it would you wanted to not like alert the witch to your presence. But the thing that would happen in Left 4 Dead is if you first of all witches look like little girls,
Oh.
and you hear them crying usually long before you see them,
Yeah.
and they just like they have this really creepy kind of ghost girl cry, and they're just kind of hunched over usually, and like usually they're in the way of where you need to go, so you need to like sneak around it. And if you fuck up and and you startle the witch doesn't just scream and call the horde. It freaking grows giant claws and tears your face off.
Oh
And it's
wow.
like it
Oh.
makes these really aggressive noises that are really scary. Like if someone startles the witch, they're probably going to go down.
Yeah, it's almost a guaranteed instant down.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like picture
Um,
those wall hug. It's a combination of the wall hugging ones, the snitches, and
mm,
the birds all
Mm.
Yeah.
together,
Oh
all in
wow.
one mob.
I do like the wall huggers, like the sleepers. I think that's pretty interesting
I
Oh
thought
yeah.
they weren't bad. I actually kind of thought they added an interesting element to things.
because like you'd be like so distracted, either by like loot or other enemies or whatever, and so like missing one of those and getting hit by it because they're so obvious.
Yeah.
So that when you do get hit by one, you really do feel like like that's my fault.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking.
They also do something that I think is necessary in this game, which is they punish you hard for going off on your own and not being careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because yeah, ultimately they're trying to train you to work together. and it makes like those urban environments like really scary, which they should be in like a zombie survival sense of like urban environments are like super scary because something could just pop out at any time, and you're like, you turn the corner and all of a sudden the truck or whatever has 3 of them on then, and I'm like, wow, yeah, and yeah, I think the some of the level design plus distinct places for the sleepers to pop up was really interesting.
Some of the sleepers are placed in really mean places too, which I think is funny.
Always the same, or does the director place them?
I definitely think there's like nodes that are probably placed on each map, but they definitely don't spawn in the same places every time.
Yeah. I've definitely seen sometimes be in the same place, but I do think it's pretty well randomized each time, which is smart.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's only like doing like the library or whatever, like you just know that place is entirely covered in them, but you're just gonna turn a book, turn a corner around a book, and then all of a sudden a bookshelf, and then you get downed. Yeah, definitely pretty random.
Also makes Carly really clutch because she can sense them through walls.
Oh yeah, I love.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting character abilities in the game.
Do we know why she can do that? Is there a lore reason that she can do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's
fair enough
necessarily lore driven or. But speaking of characters, do we have favorites? What do we think of like each of the different characters? Potentially how do they fit into your like ideal 4? What do we think about that?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. Because I'm very much, especially after playing like a lot of Left 4 Dead 2, I'm like, how do I play Black for Blood the most like efficiently possible on the hardest difficulty?
Yeah.
And like in my mind I have like characters like tiers even.
Sure.
My favorite is definitely Doc, just because playing like a healer is just interesting to me in this type of game, and she's like the best support in the game. I think.
Say Doc is just really, really good.
Yeah.
Just free heals.
Honestly, the biggest sleeper, the biggest sleeper thing that makes Doc really good is the trauma resistance. It just gives everybody passive trauma resistance.
Oh yeah,
that's huge later in a run.
Like all of her stuff is good, but that trauma resistance is like the sleeper hit of Doc's, I think.
Although, like, if Doc's, I feel like maybe there's like maybe potentially like 2 roles for each. And again, I think we talked like there's plenty of diverse stuff, but like I think I always like Mom with the like extra life. Like I started the game not knowing what the heck an extra life was, and then when you get later on, you like actually start going down. Like when you only have 1 extra life, like that first down is like real scary, and it's just like if you're being swarmed, you get back up and you're down again, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm out for the rest of the mission. Like then I think Mom extending that extra, giving you that extra life really adds to survivability.
Yeah, I think Mom's a really good support too.
To counter that though, that's why I think Mom is kind of like the beginner support character. Because like if you're running like peak efficiency or whatever, like you shouldn't be going down that often.
Yeah, true.
So if you're not going down that often because you've like got good or whatever, then that's not very useful.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I having tried to build like a DPS build, like I feel like the promise of Jim is nice, but like I don't think, like sometimes I just don't think it ever like pays off. Like unless I'm like really going slow, and like I can get that stacked up to 10 or whatever. Like,
yeah, I think he's the hardest character to play, but also potentially the most powerful if you can somehow master him.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw him and I was like, I'm playing on console, so no Jim for me, thank you.
Right, yeah. But I could see like pro PC dudes going for Jim and like just absolutely owning.
Yeah, he was my first thought with like the double guns build, with like you just stack up like an SMG or some kind of assault rifle.
Yeah, like giving Jim like a Barrett sniper rifle or something, and just letting him be like on mutated hunting duty.
Yeah.
you know, like he would just he wrecks. But
yeah, I think
again,
he's
yeah,
got the highest skill ceiling for sure.
yeah, high skill ceiling. So if like you want, I think if you want damage without the skill ceiling, the soldier guy,
Walker, yeah,
I think is the next best option.
Walker's great though. I mean, he's just got a lot of. I think to the game's credit, I think all the characters have something going for them.
yeah,
Even if some are
Yeah.
better or more situational than others. Like
Absolutely, I think every character is viable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there?
I just think
which one is the worst?
Who's
the worst character?
I think Evangelo is the worst.
He does kind of feel like just like a worse melee character than Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good as Holly for melee, and I think what he brings is not as important.
Yeah,
like it's a free breakout and then just yeah. I mean, he's probably kind of meta for the popular trend of just speed running through everything.
Sure.
That's
for
true.
the extra stamina regen and move speed, he's probably pretty good. But as far as like a more general, like methodical approach where everybody's kind of filling a role and stuff, I think he's probably he's almost like the most general in his abilities, other than Walker maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, yeah, Evangelo, Walker, and Mom are like the three. Like, start with these characters because they provide the most like general.
Which is why they're 3 of the 4 starting characters. So
Yeah.
I guess well done there.
Yeah.
For which ones I thought it was interesting because playing the betas, Hoffman was one of the 4 starting characters, and they swapped him with Mom for the release of the game, which I thought was interesting. But I thought that was a good choice because they kind of needed a support leaning character, I think, in that first 4.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and I liked. I mean, as far as like conversation, I think Hoffman definitely takes the cake.
I mean,
I didn't just
I kind of resisted it, but I think Hoffman's my favorite character both to play and just to have and listen to in the party.
Oh my god, yeah.
He's the best in terms of actual character. I think.
He's very funny.
Yeah. Not someone I'd want to get a drink with, but definitely.
No, His conspiracy theories.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I thought he was really funny.
Yeah.
At the high school when he's like, I'm an alumni.
As soon as we got to the high school and Hoffman was like, my old alma mater.
That was it, yeah.
And Holly's like, this is an elementary school, Hoffman.
Yeah.
Just like, oh boy. And then he just kept talking through the entire thing.
Yes. Oh my god.
Talking about which teacher was in which classroom and just walking through it and stuff. It was so funny.
Oh god, well, and like the story he tells, I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't spoil it, but
no, I mean this is full spoilers, but yeah.
Okay. His like basically his story about how like one of his teachers died and it was like basically his fault, but
yeah, he basically killed his teacher.
Oh my god!
Like, what the fuck, Hoffman?
Yeah.
So fucking weird.
Yeah. While I like playing as Carly, she definitely did not. It's probably on the lower end of the character spectrum.
So rude.
Just
yeah, she's also really mean.
Yeah. Oh great.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Like Carly's like the one character you use a healing item on her and she's like, fuck you for healing.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, don't touch me, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I won't heal you, I guess.
My bad.
Also, I just like her starting with the toolkit. Sometimes you got to start with a toolkit.
You're a toolkit junkie.
Oh my god, give me more toolkits! I want access to those stashes.
It's great. Playing with Casey, and I realized after a while, I'm like, I don't need to buy toolkits because Casey will always have a toolkit.
Yes, I'll take 2 of them if I can get them.
Yeah,
and then I'll upgrade team utility items so that I have like a 30% chance to not use it when I use it. Yeah. I wanted more toolkits. More toolkits. Give me all the toolkits. Yeah.
You can have them.
Great. Although there was sometimes like I don't know where this fits in with the conversation, but like there were sometimes like on alarm doors you would use a toolkit, and like I think like pulling out the survivors on like at the mini mart, like it comes up with a prompt of like, do you want to use your toolkit? And I was like, why? Why would I use my toolkit here so I can get them out quietly? I like yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some weird times where it was like, do I want to destroy this door or use a toolkit? And it's like, wait, this isn't even an alarm door. What do I care? Let me just like stab it a couple times. Like, yeah.
Well, it's locked.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of the, I guess we didn't talk about this too much at like the supply points, but I think maybe not something I would focus a negative review on or something, but like the cosmetics were definitely suboptimal.
Super
Yeah,
lacking.
if we
Yeah.
want to pivot,
Yeah.
the cosmetics are all pretty lame.
There's barely any of them.
Yes.
And
it takes
they're all just-
forever to
Yeah.
get them. Like I don't think
Yes.
I got. Did anyone get any gun skins?
yeah,
Yeah.
I have a ton.
I got a couple. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
They're
I didn't
further
see
in the
any.
supply.
You have to go like you have to get through like 2 or 3 supply lines before you start seeing them. But yeah, the gun skins are even like the gun skins are better than the character skins.
That's what I was just. Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
gun
The
skins
gun
at least.
skins aren't.
Yeah, at least
The gun
interesting.
skins are at least like interesting to look at. The character skins are like, I have a red shirt on now
Yeah, rather
instead
than a
of
blue
a
one.
white shirt.
An
Like,
interesting kind of just general thought just in cosmetics is that like you kind of have to decide whether your cosmetics are like whether they're diegetic or non-diegetic, right? Like Overwatch, they're definitely like non-diegetic, which means that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know, because it doesn't matter. So yeah,
Yeah.
Doomfist can wear a tuxedo sometimes, and whereas I feel like with Back for Blood, they really tried to keep the cosmetics like in the world, so that it was like, oh yeah, you just have a couple different kinds of T-shirts. And it's like, well, why would I?
yeah.
Why is
I
this
think,
a reward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
disappointing.
like also like even if they want to keep the cosmetics diegetic, there's a lot more they could have done there. I mean,
Yeah.
could I just like have Doc with their hair in a ponytail? I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Or give me a jacket layer. Like,
Or like even like I noticed this with Doc especially, like, but it's true on all the characters. Like they have their base skins and then their overall skins, which all look kind of good. And it's you kind of lose a lot of the character design that defines the character when you swap to like the outfits that you
Yes.
can change. Like
yeah.
it's a dang tragedy that you swap to Doc with like the tank top and you can't keep her coat. You can't put the like new shirt on
Yeah.
under her coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a misstep.
And then half the characters just have this like same looking riot gear, so that they all have the same silhouette.
Well, they
Yeah.
the riot gear is for you unlock that by beating Nightmare on that character. So they
Oh,
made
wow.
it sort of a uniform like status symbol like I have the SWAT skin on this character because I beat the hardest content with
I mean,
that.
I appreciate that you don't just like buy all the skins in a store, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess I have to be careful about complaining about it too much, but it's so sparse, it's like almost not even worth having the cosmetics.
And there's a
in the
little bit
current
of
form.
Does every character have a SWAT skin? I thought half of them had the SWAT and half of them had the Apocalypse.
Mad Max. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that might be right.
Yeah.
Apocalypse
think
is they're two
Does it
different.
function the same way?
Yeah, I think everybody has a SWAT.
Everyone
and
has
an
a SWAT
Apocalypse.
and an Apocalypse, I think.
Oh.
Although there is a little bit of futility of designing excessive cosmetics when inevitably you're going to be covered in red jello and green
Yeah.
green vomit. So.
Fair.
But still, I'd still like my jello covered character to have a mohawk or something. So
When you shoot someone else, does it take some of their health?
Not on recruit.
not a recruit. Yeah.
Friendly fire goes up the higher the difficulty.
Okay.
So it's 50% friendly fire on veteran, and
because in a
then
game with
100%
so
on
much
nightmare.
chaos happening and so difficult to discern friend from foe, I got frustrated a lot when the characters would complain about shooting at each other, and it's like, I'm playing on console, man. Like,
Yeah.
give me a break. I'm lucky if I'm like hitting the zombies,
Yeah,
let alone
matters.
like some rando stepping in front of me.
Well, there were some times I would like it was too difficult to just move around someone who's in my way, so it's like screw it, I'm gonna shoot this freaking wretch through you. Like I know we're playing
Yeah.
on recruit, I don't
More
care.
important I take out this wretch than
Yeah,
not hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not how I would play in a harder difficulty. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I kind of indiscriminately would just fire into the melee characters and stuff on recruit, in a way that I wouldn't definitely not do on veteran or higher.
Yeah, I was wondering about like optimal build too, where it was like there's a couple cards that like I think one of them is like when you're crouching, you don't take friendly
Yeah.
fire damage. I'm like, is this part of the optimal build where you just duck walk through the entire level
Yep.
so you can fire willy
I
nilly at
think
each other?
that card becomes essential if you're gonna be a melee
Oh,
Yeah.
character
okay.
in harder difficulties.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because like you have to be in
have to-
the crossfire basically to play
Yeah.
melee. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked yet about the narrative. I'm wondering what you're kind of. I have narrative or lack thereof, which
Yeah, put
fine.
quotation marks around that
yeah,
narrative.
narrative, yeah.
let me open up this one because I just want to say that like it's not present really,
Yeah.
Sure.
but also I had zero expectation for a narrative because
Sure.
again I was expecting Left 4 Dead.
100%.
Yeah.
Same. I went in expecting very minimal storytelling, because I was expecting a Left 4 Dead like experience. So I was not disappointed, but it was about what I expected.
Yeah.
Did you know the ridden are caused by worms?
Yes.
Yeah.
I barely knew that.
Yeah.
I was just watching a video that had like one of the worms, and I'm like, oh wow.
When you
What?
look at like them when you kill them on the ground, if like they pop
Sometimes.
their head or something, you see the worms.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of references to like, oh, they're worm food and that kind of stuff. I think I only knew that going in because I watched like a story trailer for the game early on or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
it talked about that.
Yeah, I just watched one in preparation for this, and I was like, oh, that's how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there necessarily needs to be too much to get me to shoot zombies with friends. So I like I think
Yeah.
what you said. I don't expect very much. I did think it was. I think actually the narrative is more of the character interactions, and like some of them are pretty interesting, and maybe some of the narrative is the mission design where like the missions felt unique and you had to do something in order to like in this unique mission, like that was the narrative, like let me resupply this area or
Yeah.
kill the infested in this area so that it's now less infested, or and the character interactions are like, hey, like I think Hoffman and Mom have history just because I've seen them played a lot. So like their interactions are like Mom's. I don't remember. I think Mom has a real name, and Hoffman calls her by her real name every once in a while.
Hoffman calls her Christine.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like, oh, like that's I guess that's quote unquote narrative of like, oh, when these characters are talking about her, yeah, or
It's
yeah,
more character and dialogue than
yeah,
There's
the
lore.
narrative,
yeah,
Yeah.
lore, I guess.
lore, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's it. I like that. Sometimes I wish I could gag Holly and Evangelo, because
Sure.
some of their jokes are so bad.
Mhm. Yeah.
But-
No free hug.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Uh,
There should be a where's the AI director that like puts a gag on or slowly lowers the number of times a character can say the same line?
Yeah.
Steven, I feel like you had something to say about the story.
Me?
Yeah, I thought you?
Yeah. I don't have much to say. I think that you're right. Like ultimately, I kind of knew based on. Okay, so here's the thing that I think believe the Left 4 Dead franchise did better than Back 4 Blood, is that while neither of them really had a story per se, Left 4 Dead was like, it was a story about survival. Like, we're here, we need to go here to get rescued.
Mhm.
So our whole so all the acts of all the stories are going to be about getting like from to different save points from here to there. But then there was this weird thing in Back 4 Blood where it would be like you'd finish an act and then you'd go back to like the main base. And so it felt like there was like hints at more of a story. And I didn't finish Act 4.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know if
There's
like,
not much.
if there's an
much.
end.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like from step to step like, okay, there's a it didn't feel like, okay, this is a narrative about survival, which is like really simple, there's no story, but because it's simple, I really know, like, survival games don't necessarily need a story because the story is about the survival.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, because you kept going on like these missions for this general, it felt like there was like supposed to be a little more there, like something that, and maybe this is like a longer plan. Maybe we're not really viewing this from like the story that they have later on, but I guess I wanted there to be like, I don't know, either less story or like less story or more story. Like I don't mind there being no story and it's like we just got to get to this place, but then we learn some details about the world through the characters' conversations, like Overwatch, which I think that's some of the best storytelling they do in here is the conversations between the characters, and it motivates you to like play different characters in different combinations to hear more of their stories. But some of the missions just felt really convoluted. Like what are we doing? Where are we going? Like who are we to this organization? Like it took me a while to realize that, oh, we're immune and that's why we're going out and fighting these guys.
Yeah.
Because we're immune to the zombie horde.
Honestly, just like a couple paragraphs of voiceover at the beginning, sort of setting the stage, would have gone a long way towards that.
Sure.
At least as far as like explaining that you're cleaners and you go out and support this colony because you're immune.
Yeah.
I also think you can glean it, but it wasn't super obvious to me at first, but like the zombies were dying out and then they came back. And that's sort of the setting for the game right now. So there's like
Not clear at all.
they're constantly talking, like they talk about every once in a while, like, oh yeah, there were some things were getting better. Why have they started to come back? Oh, all of these settlements are going dark that were less fortified than Fort Hope. Like that's part of what you're going out and doing in some of these, even though they do not make that clear at all unless you look into it a bit more. So I think that was kind of a failing there too. But again, it didn't really elicit that much disappointment from me because that's not really what I was here for. But definitely could have been done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
I think that like that is sometimes the thing that like, because the gameplay can get pretty consistent after a while, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if I have something that I'm like also striving towards. If there's like a story or something that I'm following, then it's like, okay, I can continue to do this because I'm building towards something. And so I think I either needed like I would have liked a little, like you said, even just a couple of paragraphs or something to be like, hey, here's kind of what you're doing here, beyond like, because so much of like the stuff is the mission dialogue at the beginning, which ends up getting drowned out by everyone going, okay, what are you guys getting? What are you buying? Meanwhile the general's
Right.
like, you're the
Yeah, and I
Also,
hate listening to that guy.
they could have made the frickin' general suck less too. Maybe people would want to listen to him more if he sucked less. Like half the time he's just like mad at you, and you're like, why is this guy mad at me?
Why do I have to earn back your trust
Yeah,
again?
we talked about that a little bit when we were playing. He's like, you need to earn back my trust, and we're just like, why? What did we do that made you lose trust in it?
Yeah.
There's no like mission that we did before then where we like disobeyed his orders or anything. That didn't, at least not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Yeah, I think some of that's too, like Steven said, like I think there's always going to be a difficulty in a multiplayer game trying to get narrative across when people can talk over it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
True.
it just, yeah.
I agree, and especially in a game like this where like I admitted, I wasn't here for it. I was totally willing to talk over story and stuff because I wasn't really that
Absolutely.
interested in it.
Yeah.
So I can't fault them too much. Like it's
Yeah.
fine, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like some of those like really basic facts about the setting were just really hard to find
Glean.
out, even if I was interested in finding them out, kind of.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So we did. I think we played a little bit of the different modes. We talked about. I mean, the game basically has 3 modes, one of which shouldn't exist with solo mode. But like, yeah,
Well, it should exist. It just should
Yeah.
be better.
it should
Yeah.
just it
It shouldn't
absolutely
punish you
should
for
exist.
not being able to like play with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They said that they're reverting it, but the decision to just make it so that you can't like unlock or progress anything in solo mode is a bad choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to say that like Turtle Rock has said that that's one of the things that they're working on in their next big update is you'll be able to make progress in solo mode.
Good.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
That
Good
was
to
some
hear
of
that
the
they're taking
loudest.
feedback seriously.
Yeah, that was some of the loudest feedback I think they got. So.
Yeah. And then we played the Swarm mode, which I think we definitely have thoughts on, which is the PvP mode.
Yeah, we had a very brief foray into that. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thoughts on it are I like it for what it is, but it shouldn't be the sole PvP mode.
Yeah.
It should be something in addition to what the Left 4 Dead games have. I think everyone pretty much feels this way. Like, why is there no PvP just going through the story missions? Because that's another way to breathe life into those levels. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Because you have.
Totally agree.
Yeah. To have. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, another way to diversify gameplay is when you have thinking ridden doing devious things in the background. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I bet kind of leads into like future content. I bet they're gonna add that as either paid or unpaid DLC in the future because you kind of can't have a Left 4 Dead game without that.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be paid. Hopefully, it's just like a free thing they do. If it was something that were just like, yeah, we just didn't have time to implement it for launch, it's coming. That would be that would suck, but it would be somewhat acceptable in this state of game development.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's just such a weird choice. I can't understand it. I'm not sure why they thought that would be okay. People are expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
notable
Halo
in its
launching
absence.
without the co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's notable in its absence because of sort of the expectations of the game's pedigree, I think. So
Yeah.
its absence is a bit glaring.
Yeah.
Have they said what's going to be in the annual pass? Yeah.
I don't know.
I have not seen any. There's a lot of speculation online right now because they haven't really announced anything as far as how it's going to be, if it's going to be monetized in any additional ways going forward, what content is on the way.
Yeah.
They did say like apparently there's like more characters coming and stuff, which is an interesting thing, and
Yeah.
obviously more cards.
Yeah.
But
I'm
they've
excited
been
about more cards.
Yeah, but they've been very vague about what all they're working on for it. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out.
Yeah.
Any other topics we want to talk about or questions we're going to ask before we get into final thoughts?
I'm good.
Okay.
I think that hit all of my stuff.
All right, let's start with like
I don't think everybody actually said their favorite characters to play.
Ooh.
I know we got Patrick's, but I think
I
we
kind
then
of jumped in there. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's
problem.
not at all.
Great. Kevin, you brought it up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I also mentioned it a bit, but I didn't think it was going to go that way, but I really landed on liking Hoffman, especially doing sort of like a scavenger and offensive items based build, and also he's hilarious, and
Yes.
I'm just always happy to play as him. So that was a surprise.
Eric, did you have a favorite player? Or favorite?
I ended up playing a lot of Holly.
Ooh.
I think partially because I kind of like the melee and then like that like the melee shotgun combo. And I think also
Yeah.
just because we were playing as a group, like we sort of like Patrick was usually playing as Doc, so it was like, okay, I'm not gonna really do the healer role,
Mhm.
and then like Casey would be Carly, so not the support, so it'd sort of be like, okay, I'm gonna be DPS melee, depending on that. So yeah, love me some good shotgun
Ooh.
action.
Didn't talk about it much, but the melee is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I guess yeah, gunplay implies that there's only guns, but yeah, I think the melee was I think it was a really good like my one or two times that I played as the melee was super fun and like
Well,
super interesting builds and yeah.
once you get like the attack boost cards and the stamina boost cards and stuff,
Yeah.
like you can turn into a freaking blender and it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you
rebuild
recover
health
health.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you get really tough and yeah.
Yeah, having never played a healer character, I still got like the first tier of the healing stuff just playing as a melee build. So, yeah. Yeah, like Eric said, I was like I said, I was a little frustrated with like this skill ceiling on Jim because like I went in wanting to be like, oh, let's see what a sniper like headshot stacking damage build looks like, and you know, inevitably I would either get hit from behind while I'm like aiming down scopes, trying to hit something from far away, or you know, I'd step into an acid pool and I would lose my stacks or something. Like so, Jim fell off, and so that's when I kind of moved towards Carly. And like I said, I'm the toolkit junkie, so the fact that she starts with one and an extra support slot, and the wall hacks made her really good for like this scavenging build that Kevin turned me on to.
Well, she does use speed as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
Yeah.
think
use
she gives
speed
the
is
whole
super clutch.
team 50% more use speed, which is pretty cool.
Super useful.
Steven, do you have a favorite character?
Yeah, I also played a lot of Holly.
Oh,
I
great.
played some Jim. I think Jim is the one I played the most. I really liked with like the single shot rifles, being able to like just stand back and like hammer things at their weak points.
Yeah.
Um, play play a little bit of Doc. Played a little. Yeah, it was mostly Holly and Jim were the two that I played.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know. Speaking of character interactions, I didn't know too much about Jim, other than I guess he's the hunter. But yeah, otherwise, not a lot
He's
of
a hunter
character.
and he doesn't watch a lot of TV.
Yep. Great. Got it. Hunter guy. Well, cool. Let's wrap this up with kind of our final thoughts. Let's start with Eric. What would you say if you're given 30 seconds to a minute to kind of give us your thoughts on the game?
As sort of a newcomer to the Left 4 Dead Back 4 Blood, I had a lot of fun with it. I think if you can play with your friends, it just like the quality is so much better, letting you sort of play into the specializations more. I know times when we were playing with just like one or two other randoms, it just like the overall experience was just so different, and it like sometimes they'd be really questionable, and so I had a lot more fun when it would be the four of us going at it. So I had a lot of fun with it.
Great. How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think this is a game where you should really know what you're getting into and manage your expectations because uh there are some weaknesses in the game, but a lot of them are sort of um emblematic of this style of sort of zombie survival game. And
Yeah.
there's a lineage and a history to that. And I think as long as you come in with the right expectations, you can have a lot of fun here. And there's some issues I have with the enemy designs and the way that encounters are sort of dynamically generated and stuff. But I'm really optimistic that they'll keep developing this game and it'll continue to improve. And it's I've already had quite a lot of fun with it. So overall, recommend if you like Back for Blood or Left for Dead style games.
Yeah. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I came in wanting more Left 4 Dead. I feel like I got that plus some. At the same time, I know there's a lot of like Left 4 Dead purists who are not as into this game and have issues with it. I wonder if it's mainly because of the PvP or what, but so I don't know. I would love to say like if you love Left 4 Dead 2, you should play this, but I also feel like I have to be like, you may not, but I think it's great, and everyone else being a baby.
And then last but not least, what do you think, Steven?
I enjoyed it. I'll probably spend a little bit more time with it, but I just wish that they had pushed a little bit further outside of the Left 4 Dead kind of window. I thought the cards were really interesting when we did the beta, but I was disappointed that they didn't really let them especially early on get into like get into some of the weirdness. Really expand the types of play styles that you could do. So I sort of felt like usually every night after about one or two runs or one or two missions, I was like, okay, I'm done with this for right now. And I would find myself sort of wandering to thinking about what I'm gonna do after I'm done with this act.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want that, I do highly encourage you to play more and unlock more of those cards, because I feel the differences, but it does take some time. Unfortunately, I think it would have been better to speed up that process a bit,
or at least maybe front load some of the some of the more like linchpin things for different builds.
Like, and ultimately my final thoughts are I think it's a good game. Like the fact that it's on Game Pass, like I think we all talked about, the crossplay works pretty much seamlessly. Even some of my coworkers got together to do it, and it's like, again, figuring out which console you're on. You don't have to worry about which console you're on. It's free on Game Pass. So anybody with that can either download it on PC or Xbox, and play pretty easily with your PlayStation friends who happen to buy it. So yeah, I think the crossplay and the fact that you can kind of drop in and drop out and play with your friends whenever you want. I like we talked about, the single player experience is vastly different than a multiplayer experience, and so try and convince 2 or 3 of your friends to get Game Pass or download it that way, so you can play with them, because it's pretty fun and easy to get into with a group of friends. I thought the everything else is just, I was looking for a fun multiplayer game to shoot zombies with friends, and I got that in spades, with some pretty fun characters, some pretty unique level design, and the card system I think is pretty interesting. And I actually found myself like, if everybody went to bed, I'd do 1 or 2 more quick play runs just to get a few more supply points to get a new card, just to see how that would kind of change up my builds. But yeah, ultimately I enjoyed it and recommend playing with friends. So good friend zone game.
I've got one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
This game is a zombie game, and it does not have a usable chainsaw, and that should be illegal.
You're right.
Probably coming.
Right.
They don't get subpoenaed.
Yep.
Definitely something to consider. Hey, maybe that's one of the, you gotta get that Ash DLC.
Katana. Katana.
Oh yeah. I mean, that.
I can live without the katana, but the chainsaw is a crime.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you again to everybody who for playing through this with me. I hope to continue to play it in the future. Always happy to hop in and kill some Britons. Got to get through those higher level difficulties. See what that's all about. So, thanks again for everybody for playing this and talking about it.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as always, thank you, viewers, for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super month. And I hope you have a super day. Bye!